Tracy, Chambers is muted.
There you go.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Asset Management Committee meeting on Monday morning at 9:01 a.m. I'll open the meeting and call to order. I'll read the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, specifically the Madawaska-Rini people of the Madawaska River. We further acknowledge that the Algonquin people have been stewards of this land since time immemorial, and we strive to treat the land along with the flora and fauna it supports, the people, their customs and traditions with honor and respect. Today, this area is home to people of all walks of life, and we acknowledge the shared opportunities and responsibilities to live, work, and survive within this beautiful territory. Chi Miigwech, all my relations. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda? Seeing none. Have to keep reminding me to look at the monitor to make sure nobody's attending by Zoom. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda then? Motion by Councillor Kuyak, seconded by Councillor Pigeon. I'll turn the meeting over to Darla Campbell and Lisa Gibo-Dillion for the presentation of the asset management plan. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. It's a pleasure to be able to present this morning. I think we're waiting for the slides to come up when you have a moment.
Can you wait just 1 minute? We can't hear you.
Speak again, sorry.
All right, can you hear me
There
now?
you go. Yes, it's good.
Excellent, good. Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you and Council for the invitation to present to Council this morning on your asset management plan 2022. So I don't know if we're sharing slides, but I'm looking forward to slides being shared. Brian, is that something that you're going to share or shall I?
Darla, I have made you post, so.
Oh, then I will share slides. Excellent. All right, here we go. All right, I think we have the slide deck up now. Excellent. All right. So, all right, so the Asset Management Plan Final Report 2022. So we look forward to sharing highlights from the Asset Management Plan, as well as providing some highlights from the project itself and listening to some questions that you might have. So first of all, we want to thank the team who contributed to the completion of the Asset Management Plan. We find that projects are necessary to have a high level of engagement by staff because in fact, it is your municipal assets that we are including in the Asset Management Plan. So Brian, Jennifer, Dave Gatley, before he left in October, and then Stephen, since he started in May, have been actively engaging and providing information to Dillon Consulting in order to deliver the project. So we recognize that level of engagement. And then Dillon Consulting, myself as project manager, Liza, who is on the call with us today, who is the technical lead, and then Kaylee Oxford and Joseph Huckstra, who provided their expertise in level of service risk and asset management strategy, and Joseph in the financial strategy lead. All right, so the presentation outline for today, I'll provide some slides as a reminder around why asset management, so that we're all on the same page with respect to asset management. I'll speak to the alignment of your asset management plan with the regulation and with your policy. I'll speak to specifically the replacement value that's been estimated as part of the asset management plan work, talk about the condition summary of the assets, talk about levels of service, a key concept in asset management. I will talk about risk. We'll address or highlight some asset management strategies that are included in your asset management plan. We'll speak to the financial strategy and then roadmap of next steps, and followed by questions. So asset management is investing wisely over the long term, about balancing operations, risks, and costs is providing your community with the right service at the optimal cost and keeping your community's future needs in mind. And so how does asset management deliver value to your community? It's through the levels of service that are and the performance of your infrastructure in delivering service to your residents. And that's where your community sees value, is when the assets are performing, and it's based on their performance that the service is delivered. And the performance is a balance of risk and the balance of cost. So those are key concepts in asset management. 7 essential questions in asset management. The first 2 help to define the asset inventory. What do you have and where is it? And what is it worth? What's the replacement value of the asset in current dollars? Question 3 is what is the condition and expected remaining service life? The condition helps to have an understanding of how that asset is aging. Is it aging gracefully, or is it aging faster than what would normally be expected for that type of asset? Question 4, what is the level of service expectation and what needs to be done? And this is the layering in of the level of service and understanding the expectation of the asset, of your infrastructure in delivering service and the performance that your community expects from the asset. And 5, 6, and 7 kind of build into this analysis and strategy development. So question 5 is, when do you need to do it? What work do you need to do? What investment needs to be made? How much will it cost, and what's the acceptable level of risk? As in, how long can you wait until that investment must be done? Otherwise, there could be significant consequences. And 7 is, how do you ensure long-term affordability? So these are the 7 essential questions that we look at in asset management. Levels of service and level of risk. All right, let's look to the alignment of your asset management work. So you have a strategic asset management policy. It was approved in April 2nd of 2019. It states the vision to proactively manage its assets to best serve the township's objectives, including prioritize meeting expected performance levels to deliver services in the most efficient and effective manner. It speaks to supporting sustainable community services now and in the future. And maintaining prudent financial planning and decision making. There's a note in your policy that says the township will use a service-based qualitative perspective when applying this policy to municipal assets, rather than a monetary value or a quantitative. So this is where the level of service and the service expectations are important to understand to address this part of your policy. And then the objectives in your policy that I'm highlighting here provide a consistent framework for implementing asset management throughout the organization, and provide transparency and accountability to demonstrate to stakeholders the legitimacy of decision-making processes, which combine strategic plans, budgets, service levels, and risks. And then moving to the regulatory alignment, the Ontario Regulation 58817 is the Asset Management for Municipal Infrastructure regulation. Phase 1 was the creation of a policy back in 2019. Phase 2 was approved asset management plan for core assets, which includes roads, bridges, culverts, water, wastewater, and stormwater management, that discusses current levels of service and costs for maintaining those services. Phase 3, by July of next year, approved asset management plan for all infrastructure assets that discusses current levels of service and the costs for maintaining those services. So in this asset management plan that's in front of you today, you are addressing phase 2 and phase 3 together. So you're a little bit behind on the July 1st, 2022, but you are a little bit ahead on the July 1st, 2024. And then further, there is a phase 4 by July 1st, 2025, where approved asset management plan for all assets that builds on the requirements of your 2024 plan and includes a discussion of proposed levels of service, what activities will be required to meet proposed levels of service, and a strategy to fund those activities. And you'll see glimpses of that already in your asset management plan. So you're on the path to meeting 2025, but there is some more work to be done in order to meet that. All right, getting specific with your asset management plan. So the current replacement value, based on the information that was provided to us, the consultants from your municipal staff team, the asset replacement cost in 2023 dollars So we've got roads replacement at about 40 million, bridges and culverts at 2.6, solid waste at 600,000, buildings and facilities just under 8 million. Land total is 1 million, and fleet and equipment 4.7 million. So quite a large value of replacing your assets. Now you don't need to replace them all today, but this is a measure of the size of your portfolio and the size of the portfolio and value that you currently have. And then the asset replacement cost, we can see in the bar graph on the right that roads by far is the largest asset category based on replacement costs. Buildings and facilities kind of come in second, fleet and equipment in third, bridges and culverts in fourth place, and solid waste and lands in the smaller percentage of your overall asset replacement cost. So the total here, because I know that you were wondering what it added up to, was 56.87 million is what the current replacement estimate is. So looking at the condition of these assets, where we have condition information, we've been able to align that with very good, fair, poor, or very poor. So the green and dark blue are very good and good. We're going to highlight a few of the areas here for attention. So the roads, which includes both paved and unpaved, have a fairly significant amount of fair roads, a small amount of poor and very poor. Also looking at bridges and culverts, again, the yellow there means fair, and then some that are very poor. Looking at land improvements, fair, poor and very poor, and then here we have fleet and equipment as a smaller area, but with the aging of vehicles that don't have the same length of life cycle, expected useful life as roads. This could change very quickly if there isn't attention to that. All right, so moving into levels of service. So what are we talking about in levels of service? We are looking at the technical level of service, the performance that you're getting from your asset, which also is based on what's the asset capable of performing. So if you have a single lane road, you can't expect traffic equal to double lanes to be able to perform well on that road. So the size of the assets and the condition of the size of the assets and the current performance gives us the technical level of service. And this is where we look at understanding the condition, understanding the reliability of your infrastructure. But your community doesn't necessarily care about either of those, but they do. They care about the performance side, not so much the technical details behind the asset level of service. In the green here, we're identifying that the community is measuring how they experience your infrastructure and the service that's providing. And so there is a measure in asset management that says, well, what's the community level of service? How is the community reacting and engaging, and what is the service that the organization is providing to the community, and what does the community receive in the service that's being delivered? And so looking at the technical level of services, what service does the municipality deliver, and the community level of services, what does the community receive as a result of doing that? So there may be over time or for certain periods of time, I would suggest maybe during a snow event that there might be a lower level of community service while the roads are being cleared, and then it kind of bumps back to what is expected. And so there can be some adjustment on what the community is receiving based on how quickly the municipality can respond to what's required to maintain the level of service in your infrastructure. All right, so we do have some proposed levels of service that we started to think about in the creation of this asset management plan. Proposed levels of service are not required until 2025. However, this gives the community an opportunity to review and reflect on where your current assets are delivered and what could be planned for the next 10 years. So under paved roads, the quality measure is the average pavement condition index. In 2022, your paved roads were in good condition, and proposed for 10 years. So that's the planning horizon that the regulation provides guidance for us, is to maintain at 80, which would be a little bit less, but still in the good category or better. So setting that as a proposed target. Under unpaved roads, the average condition is fair currently. And then the proposed level of service would be to move that towards a good. And bridges and culverts is based on the quality, the average bridge condition index. And currently the measure of the bridge inspection report said that you're at 68.5 out of 100. So that's a fair on bridges and culverts. And the proposed is to keep that or to improve that. So that those are the proposed numbers. And I'm sure there might be some questions that we can talk about a bit later on that. Under the risk profile, so we took a look at 236 individual assets within your asset portfolio. We identified, calculated a risk of a maximum of 25. And of the 236 assets, we found that none are in the high risk category. So this is very good. We have some in the moderate category, and most are actually at a low risk. And so from a risk perspective, the municipality is in a comfortable position. So almost just over 97% are in the low risk category. Just a few, we got about 7 assets that are in the moderate category. And so this is a tool for planning to be able to prioritize assets that are in that moderate category as to some investments that might be required sooner in order to lower the risk profile. All right, so how do we calculate risk? We've calculated risk looking at likelihood and consequence. So likelihood is what increases the likelihood of non-delivery of service. So we've identified 3 factors. What's the condition of the asset? Because that helps us to understand where it's at. Performance. How is the asset performing? Even if it might be in poor condition, it might still be performing well, or we might have an asset in good condition that's performing poorly. So those are independent variables. And then there's a factor for climate change. How quickly can you recover from an event related to climate change? And so there's a low, moderate, and a high score. So we add those 3 together and divide by 3 to understand the likelihood of non-delivery. And then under consequence, we look at what increases the consequence of non-delivery or failure of an asset. So there's 2 items here. So D is the impact. So what happens when the asset is not there? So how big is the impact? How big is the consequence? So it's low, moderate, or high. And the factor of importance of the asset in delivering the service. So if the asset is in an important area of the community and there's lots of vehicles that are traveling there, if it's an emergency route, that road would be a higher importance than perhaps a street that's a very much quieter street. So looking at these 2 factors of impact plus importance, and the way the scoring sets up here, the maximum score would be 5. So 5 times 5 would be the 25 risk matrix. So risk is condition, current performance, climate change vulnerability, times consequence, which is impact and importance. And it was this methodology that we applied to the assets in your asset management plan. And why are we doing risk? It helps us to compare between asset categories, and it helps us to prioritize projects for investment to improve condition, extend useful life, and it helps to inform our asset management strategy. Talking about the asset management strategy. So we're looking at a life cycle approach. We're looking at for projects that once they're constructed, we're looking at how do you operate and maintain them. And the pie chart in the right-hand corner reminds us that the initial construction and engineering for new assets is only about 20% of the overall life cycle cost. So there's an annual cost to operate and maintain assets that is usually about 80% of the life cycle cost. We're looking at operations and maintenance. We're looking at renewal and rehabilitation projects. We're looking at when you replace your assets at the end of useful life. Which ones do you dispose of because you don't need them anymore, and what kind of expansion activities would be appropriate in managing your assets moving forward? So We're looking at condition here on the y-axis and years across the x-axis. When an asset is brand new, it's in the best condition. As it ages, it deteriorates. And if you did nothing in the asset, in this example, after 30 years, you would only have the option to replace the asset at a fairly significant cost. Life cycle approach is to find those investment opportunities where you can improve the condition, extend the useful life. Your asset stays in a high level of good condition, and the performance level is much higher. So that's the sawtooth approach is what we're looking at in the life cycle approach. As we move to financing strategy, so where do we get the money to do the work, or what money rather do we need in order to make these investments? The current budgeted revenue for your community is 4.22 million, which covers only the operating expenses of your community. The average annual capital expenditures with the proposed levels of service is expected or estimated at 1.45 million. And that's the top of the bar chart here. The 2023 budgeted revenue and operating expenses results in a 1.3 million annual capital funding shortfall relative to the recommended capital investment, which increases to 2.2 million by 2032 as a result of inflation. So we see that increasing over the next 10 years. Your financing strategy, which could be implemented to close the funding gap by 2032, could include debentures, grants and subsidies, tax levy increases, control operating expenses, and decrease levels of service. And so this is a summary of what we have presented in your asset management plan. And this is for consideration as you move to do an update by 2025, which will require proposed levels of service established with a funding plan to meet those levels of service. And so that is a step. It gives you food for thought as we kind of move forward in the planning. And then under reinvestment rates, we're looking at there's targets within the Canadian Infrastructure Report Card, looking at lower or high, what the range of investment should be as we kind of measure what other communities are doing. The Canadian average investment rate for roads and sidewalks is 1.1%. On bridges, it's less than 1. Buildings is 1.7, and sports and recreation facilities is 1.3. So we share this information as a way to inform you that municipalities across Canada are in fact struggling with the reinvestment requirements. They are lower than what the targets are at the minimum and upper targets. So in your asset management plan moving forward, we're looking at a reinvestment rate at 2.6, which is starting to get into the category of what a best practice would be in order to protect your assets and deliver service, and what that would look like on the average of your capital budget. So we're looking at a significant increase, and these are items that I think we might have some questions around. So that's the financing strategy moving forward. And then roadmap for next steps. So we're looking at enhanced financial strategy under the regulatory compliance to meet phase 4 requirements, which is around the proposed levels of service and the financing strategy. You will be looking at a full update of your asset management plan by 2027, which is the 5-year cycle that's required. And there are enhancements to look at green assets and a bit more of a deeper dive on assessment of vulnerabilities caused by climate change. So we have addressed that in your current asset management plan, but there could be room for enhancements there from a regulatory compliance perspective. And then under operationalizing asset management, this is in your asset management plan roadmap next steps. There are 5 components around asset management readiness within a municipality. So it's policy and governance, it's people and leadership, there's data and information that we're looking for and room for improvement. We're looking at planning and decision making, as well as contribution to asset management practices moving forward. And so those are recommendations as part of your roadmap and next steps. And I think that brings us to a few highlights of recommendations in the plan. So condition assessments, looking to continue the annual reporting for roads, bridges, and implement assessments for buildings and facilities. Looking to investigate what the closure costs for solid waste facilities would be so that you have that in future planning. And then performance data, continue with implementation of the town suite system to assist with collection of asset performance data to be able to track and report whether the township is on target to meet the proposed levels of service. So these are highlights of a few of the specific recommendations in the asset management plan. And I think with that, that brings us to the end of that presentation. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. It's actually Councillor Florent. I'm the chair of the Asset Management Committee. Does anybody have any questions of either Darla or Lisa or Stephen or Brian? None?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councillor Pigeon.
The assets, our assets that are at risk, there was a small portion of that. Are they identified?
Yes, they are identified. I'm going to call Liza to specifically answer that question.
Yeah, sorry, I unmuted. Thank you for having me. I didn't say hello earlier, but it's nice to be here. They are identified, yes, in each asset category. We broke down the condition and the risk associated with those. So there's an individual chart for each asset category as well as the overall one. So you can pull them out individually. I'll also provide Brian and his team with a spreadsheet where we calculated that, and then those will be highlighted in that sheet as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? I realize that the asset management document is a quite large document, like it's 150-page plus. I'm sure everybody hasn't had an opportunity to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, especially me. I'm the most guilty party of this because I was extremely busy the last little bit, but I'm hoping that everybody will try to make themselves familiar with it in the next little bit. If there are no other questions, I guess. Oh, yes, Councillor Collins.
It's more of a statement than a question. I don't believe that we have any more money or access to any more money to put into our assets than we have already. So it seems to me that the only option is to reduce our level of service to actually maintain this. What sort of thing are you talking about when you say a reduced level of service? That's what I don't really understand. Can you explain that?
Thanks, Councillor Collins. So there is a bit of flexibility that municipalities have. First, I want to state that there are minimum maintenance standards that are required for roads and other assets that you have that you would want to be meeting those at the minimum. And then there is some flexibility in how quickly you improve the condition and extend the useful life of your assets. And so there is, each time that you extend the investment period, because you're pushing it into the future, there is an increased risk for the assets to no longer perform or to drop below a level that is not adequate, and at some point it might not even be safe. So just in general, strategies for reducing levels of service could be to close roads or bridges because they're no longer safe. And that might be a short-term strategy, or it could be a longer-term strategy. And so there are some options available. We did not explore them yet in the asset management plan, and that would be the next step. Would be to take a look at where can the level of service be dialed down while still maintaining a safe environment and safe service delivery of infrastructure assets.
Thank you.
If I may just add, from my own experience in other townships, not all townships have curbside garbage pickup, or some of them have it only in restricted areas. They don't have it in the rural areas at all. So that's one way that we could reduce cost if it came down to that. There are even a few townships that don't offer any fire protection. I'm not suggesting that we entertain that idea at all, but there are some pretty severe options when you can't meet your financial responsibilities.
Yeah, Councillor Florent, if I might.
Yes.
I just want to say that, this is really going to give staff something to work with when we're speaking with governments and saying, look, we need money when we're applying for grants. It's going to give us some justification in why we're applying for them. I think it brings to light as well the fact that the cost of maintaining our assets is significant, and that we should really give second thought when we're considering, new assets. Do we want new roads? Do we want new facilities? Can we afford to take on those additional responsibilities? I think in some cases there are opportunities to buy gently used pieces of equipment versus buying brand new equipment, that there might be in some cases, not in all, but in some cases there may be economic value in doing so. But the reality is when we reach that stage of criticality with our assets, we can't just keep kicking the can down the street. We eventually have to, make a decision on how we're going to deliver that service, or whether we wish to be still in the business of delivering that service. Those are going to be some of the challenges that are going to face council going forward. I think this plan is really opened eyes. So, we can see we need to be investing about 1.4 million annually. That's a very significant amount when you consider our budget's just over 4 million in totality that has to be going into our assets. So I think it certainly gives us a stronger opportunity when we go to government and say we need money, to be able to substantiate that we actually do need that money to be able to continue to do what we're doing and to provide the level of services in a small rural community that our residents expect when they come to live here.
Does anybody else wish to comment or ask a question? Mayor LaValle?
I just wanted to say, I would hope and think that our level of service reduction would be the last thing that we do. I think that if we get to this kind of stage, we need to be on to the government in terms of helping get more grants and subsidies to this township. So I hear what everyone's saying. I think that this is a roadmap to tell us this is what could happen and what needs to happen. It's a lot of money, and our roads seem to be the number one thing, and our waste management pickup seems to be the number one thing our residents we depend on and want. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I think everybody agrees with that. Are there any other questions? If there's no other questions, I want to thank Darla and Lisa for their presentation. Shed a little bit of light on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. We can, if we're finished with that, we will move on. Does anybody wish to disclose a pecuniary interest in any of the matters before us today? There are none noted. And is there anything under unfinished business? Nothing. Under new business, there are a number of items. The number one item is the Larry Lake boat launch, and there is some correspondence in your package concerning that. And I think it was Councillor Kuyak that brought that.
I did. You just hold 1 second.
Yes.
Darla, am I able to get my listing back so I can put the agenda up? I think I'll finish with the asset management plan.
You're muted.
So the question is am I applying the host privileges over to council chambers then? Is that?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, I can do that.
Okay. So I'm going to ask Brian to do that because I had transferred over to Brian in the interim.
Okay. Thank you.
But I did almost close the meeting when I was about to exit, so I'm glad I didn't close the meeting for you. All right, thank you.
Take care.
Tracy, you should have control of things again, I believe.
I do, okay, now we can carry on, sorry.
Okay, Councillor Kuyak, I think you brought that, and there is a letter from a resident regarding that boat launch, I think.
Yes, there is. She sent it to Lori, myself and Brian. And
So then
You know what page that is in the packet?
page 153,
Okay, I was on the right page.
it's small print.
Yeah.
yes. Anyways, I think we all felt that it needed to come here just for further discussion. And I guess my thought was that there were boat launch issues at Allen Lake. In the past, there has been on Gallery Lake, and maybe this is an opportunity for us as counselors to look at all of our boat launches and access points to somehow manage to come up with some sort of standard. It would be certainly a good working plan, action plan to look at this. That was my thought on bringing it to us.
Well, I think some of the actions that are already taken by council, in particular, the additional parking by the fire hall, it's definitely being used because there's 2 trucks with boat trailers on there this morning.
Mhm.
So it's helping. I'm a little concerned that it's so far from the boat launch. I wish we had someplace a little closer, but I don't know if there's any other options right now. If some options become available, I think maybe we should jump at them or try to jump at them to make something closer. Brian, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I understand. We've had problems predating myself being there. I think it's been an ongoing issue. Last year, staff undertook to attempt to do some cleanup in the parking area down there, which seemed last year to mitigate it to some degree. Obviously, the capacity is just not there on the long term. We only own the 66-foot road allowance right away that's down there. There's Parks has a portion of property there. Department of Fisheries and Oceans actually owns the water lot that the boat launch is on. We've tried in the past to unsuccessfully have that transferred to us, which would give us a little more control over it. But until all matters respecting the land claim with the Algonquins has been resolved, the province isn't transferring any lands to anyone. So I did reach out to DFO because there had been a commitment a number of years ago to transfer that to the municipality. But they politely got back to me and identified that they wouldn't be doing so. So, I mean, certainly we're open and looking for options and opportunities with relation to that. And we're, I don't know that adding fees down there, we'd have to police that somehow, is going to be the solution to the problem. I think the biggest challenge is the lack of space down there. And like all of our boat launches, there's a lot of people like myself who aren't very good at driving boat trailers, parking them at whatever angle they can park them at. And it presents challenges then for others to be able to get into the launch and get away. I know we've had a number of conversations with Parks in an attempt to find solutions with Parks and the inland camping that occurs from that site. But Tracy, I don't know if you had anything else that I may have forgotten about. I know last year, personally, I had very few calls. Where the first summer I had calls probably every other day about parking issues at that location. I think right now the primary problem is A, the water level, and B, the long weekends seem to be the worst time.
No, you touched on everything there, Brian, that's good.
Yeah, suffice to say that I don't think we're ignoring the issue. We're constantly working on it and trying to make it better.
I think it's important, sorry, to get out there too, that we are just because we don't own the lands, there's so much, every boat launch, failing,
Mhm.
that our hands are kind of tied of what we can and cannot do, so. thank you.
Absolutely, as we're finding out right now.
I just have one comment then, just if you're looking at all of our boat launches in a whole and creating some sort of plan or strategic direction or asset management plan, I mean, they are our assets, that we could look at a whole and say, hey, there's nothing else we can do, our hands are tied, but at least it would look like we are doing something, because you know, Holly's not the only one, she's the one, you know, that
Wrote the letter.
wrote the letter. And certainly last year, as Brian said, he had several calls, and our busy season's coming, and, you know,
Mhm.
and again, Allen Lake had issues, those are being looked after,
Trying to.
trying to, I hear that.
Hence the problems with the MNR.
Yeah, so I don't know if it warrants sitting down and looking at it, at all of them as a whole, and that's because we're gonna still get some, and at least we'd have some more knowledge maybe on what is expected and what isn't.
Speaking of assets, who owns the dock?
I
The
believe we
docks
do.
belong to the township.
To
The
township?
dock was installed by the township, yes.
But DFO owns the land.
But if people are accessing Algonquin Park via this boat launch using our dock, so why aren't we getting some money from the park?
When Councillor Harper was here, he brought that point up
Numerous times.
a dozen times.
And what happens?
But nothing. The M&R just seems
They don't
to
wanna play
ignore
with
us,
us.
or it's not especially the M&R, it's parks.
Yeah.
Just tends to ignore us. They put up a sign. That's about the most they've done.
And would Hay Lake be considered a park access?
I think it is.
So, I mean, right there, we have 3 of our 5, right?
Yes.
Boat launches that are,
6 or 7.
Being used by people that are accessing Algonquin Park.
Been paying for a permit.
And,
But not to us.
and we're maintaining those docks.
I didn't see any permits on those trucks that the fire hall is, did you? Like nothing on the dash?
So.
Or maybe, but they don't necessarily have to be in the park.
Right.
So that is my question. Thank you for answering that. So we own the docks.
Mhm.
My other question that I have, or not a question, suggestion is what if we ask people that have boat trailers to park their trailers up by the fire hall and solely park their vehicles down by the boat launch? That would save a lot of room too, would it not?
Well, I think the concern too with that see Holly has expressed is that us, me being one of them uses boat launch a lot.
Mhm.
I think it's feeling that we're being kind of put out of there, so that I don't think if we told locals to park their boats and trailers over there, they're gonna be very happy and have to walk across. That's why Brian and I had talked to Don Swick from Ontario Parks, and we came up with the solution that he would try to put cars, tell people to park cars over at the fire hall instead of taxpayers doing that.
Mhm.
I know there's a huge problem. I think what the solution was, I think they're giving us a washroom. I believe they're paying for the washroom, putting the washroom in over at Gallery Lake. So I think they feel that's maybe what their contribution is to parking.
Well, the problem, there are multiple, the launches are used for multiple purposes. I mean, the one purpose is to access the park and for long terms, like more than a day. And those are the people that we're encouraging to park out of the way. To make room for the people that are going in there on Saturday morning and coming back Saturday afternoon. Like, you know, if you're going there for 5 or 6 hours and you gotta go and park way over by the fire hall and then walk all the way back, and you're doing that twice in the same day.
Mhm.
People are just gonna give up in frustration.
Mhm.
But we are working on the problem, and like Councillor Rodnick said, our hands are tied so much by Ministry of Natural Resources and Fisheries and Oceans in the case of the Bark Lake. Well, this one here too.
And the actual physical space we're dealing
Yeah, most of them are restricted in the space. I recommended a few years ago that we expand the Bark Lake parking facility Because if the land claim ever gets settled, there's a significant amount of land claim on the shores of Bark Lake, and the use on that launch is going to go up significantly. And I still think we should get ahead of the issue and have more parking now. And if there's a tournament or something, it's full
It's jammed.
now, so it's only going to get worse. Councilor, or Mayor LaValle?
I'm just making a suggestion here. I don't know whether we can do it, but I'd like to see us bring fisheries, the ministry, if it's John Vick or whoever, together in a meeting and try to come up with some kind of an agreement between all of us. So every one of us knows, I mean, should we know the problem, but I think it would help in terms of maybe them understanding the frustration, because this is actually becoming local versus tourists.
You do.
That's what's happening here. And our local people will say, look, we live here year round, want to go up to Fern Bay and fish for the day, and I can't even park. They're parked right past my sister-in-law's houses. House and other houses on that street, probably this weekend. So I mean, maybe it's pie in the sky, maybe we won't get anywhere, our hands are tied. But I also believe that with the land claim, and else I'm, really not wicked about it, that we're not talking about a significant amount of land here. If we're trying to make it better for everyone, and I just think it's in everyone's best interest to try to do that.
I do too. So that's a suggestion to staff that we somehow in the future try to get John Swick at the table here with us.
And somebody from fisheries.
And somebody
At
from
least to be
fisheries. and
somebody
also-
that you could talk to.
Yeah. Okay, if we can move on to the overnight camping and litter on municipal property, I'm not sure who has brought that to the table, but it's kind of tied to the boat launch properties as well.
That was me. Through 127, I had a verbal complaint, or I guess text message, so I could pull it up. A lot of dumping and camping along Old 127, and they're tired of picking up different things that somebody shouldn't be picking up. But anyways, and just wondering if there is any way of any solution. And I said, well, I would bring it here again. I think I'm going to be told that that's not our property. And so therefore not our problem, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
So, Councillor Kuyak, I've actually had numerous calls with Ministry of Natural Resources. That's Crown land that's in there while the trailers are camping, and all I can do is suggest that people continue to call into the MNR's complaint line and just over and over and over repeat the same complaints. I've not had a lot of luck in getting anything moved forward, although they did identify that pit privies fall under the chief building officials legislation, and that in fact he has some authority to exercise the management of privies and issue the requirements for licensing and making sure they're all done in accordance with the Building Code Act, which is just last week that they sent me that. So that may be another angle that we may have to try and approach it, but that's the only way we have any control over Crown land, apparently.
Brian, I think you're confusing with the camping issue on 523 with Councillor Kuyak's issue of garbage on the old 127, which is a municipal road.
Yeah, my mistake, sorry.
Same problem, different location.
No pretties.
That problem with the overnight camping is also at the Lyle Lake or Cross Lake boat launch area. They've got RVs coming in there and even travel trailers coming in there and staying overnight.
As well as the Hay Lake access, we've had problems since day one with people camping there sometimes for the whole summer.
And the landfill, there was someone there camping. The Madawaska landfill. There was someone as you go into the landfill,
Yeah.
just before you get there on the
What's the
left.
name of that lake?
Pete's Lake, is it?
Pete's Lake.
Yes. There we go.
And
Yeah.
apparently a couple of campers behind the fire hall in Whitney this weekend.
Is it
Found
right?
out too late.
Well.
So it's happening all
Do
over.
you know who that one camper is? That one camper is one of our paramedics.
Oh. That's what I thought too when I.
Yeah. That's the only place that she can find to stay because she tried finding a campsite. Close by here, and the closest one was Riverland, and she was too far away. So if there was a call that came in, she was too, so that's why she's camping on the roof of her car. This is season number 2 for that. So, yeah.
Okay, so we all acknowledge there's a plan. I don't know what the solution is, other than to keep complaining, as Brian says, to the MNR for the problems on town land.
I was gonna say, so 127 is considered municipal?
It's
Yes.
it's a municipal road. So if the garbage is on the road allowance, it may be our problem, but if it's in the bush. Some of that's private property along 127. I
Yes.
think most of it is.
It's up in my road.
Yeah. It exists on every road in the township, and some roads are worse than others.
And I would assume signage, there is no signage, would that help?
Like an anti-littering sign, you mean?
Yes, or put a can there so people would actually use the can versus the,
What happens there though is you have people throwing fish guts in there and
yeah.
all sorts of stuff. We see it at the dam and it. Does our guys really need to be digging up fish guts and stuff? I think it's to be health and safety for the guys too, when we start putting camp.
Yeah, they've also encountered remains of fish at, in the cans at J.R. Booth Park too. I don't know how you can't fix stupid.
If I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I think, in terms of, you're talking the old 127,
Yes.
Joe? If I may, I think, road superintendent Stephen has been out there and looked at some of that area, have you not, with a
I
member
know
of,
every summer, there's always a white van that camps there.
Yeah.
Lots throughout the summertime.
Yeah.
And I know that's they're steady there through the summer, so. But same thing, people litter unless you're there babysitting them, they're gonna keep doing it.
that there was the situation where by the supposed boat launch where the town was going to clear that out. You know, so there was something done or going to be done down there, Joe. Just for your information,
On the lake there, you mean?
yeah,
Right at the boat launch
right
there,
at that boat launch there.
That boat launch is a private
It's
boat.
private.
we didn't touch it. Somebody just moved all the debris out of there themselves, so I would assume it's the people on the island.
Yeah,
It's probably their dog.
yeah, I just, what I'm just, yeah, and thanks a lot, is that there was concern brought to me. And Stephen went out and looked at it, that's all I'm trying to say, so the township has been looking out there, and I think trying to pick up, we can't, the best you can, but I don't know how you fix it.
No, well,
It's almost impossible, unless you're policing it on a
Now
regular
she has-
basis.
Mike on full time,
Yeah.
24/7.
We used to get it up at the north end of Allen Lake where people used to come out of the park, and we've been up there and found like bags of garbage.
Mhm.
Where somebody's come out and thrown meat and everything else on the ground.
and there's, if we said, please, if there was a sign, it was like, please put your litter here within town, is there any place? Like, there's no dumpster in town.
You can't have one with the CVA, you can have it at
I'll
the
give you-
transfer station.
I'll give you an instance of how people can be. I went into my own pocket and had signs made up for Mackenzie Lake right at our fire sign. And it says, please do not litter. People put their garbage right in front of that sign.
There's an example at Elm Lake, there's a sign that says no dumping.
Absolutely.
We were down there, there's garbage and bags with dog pieces in it, so.
So, yeah, yeah,
People
it is
talk-
frustrating, but what can you do? There's not much that we can do about it unless we are policing it all the time, right?
Well, I don't even know policing is the answer versus giving an option, like, don't throw here, go throw it somewhere else.
They
I
make
don't
'em-
know.
Highway 127.
I would suggest if you see people doing it, take their pictures, post it on Facebook, make it a public shaming. Maybe, if people are afraid of being exposed, maybe they won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how legal we can do that, though. I don't want.
Well, as an individual, you can do anything you want on Facebook until Facebook kicks you out.
But yeah, it is a problem. And getting back to overnight camping on our boat launches, there was a situation last summer where Mike had to get involved and he had to tell the people to go or the police were gonna get involved in this. But we don't have any signs at that particular parking spot. We got no camping signs on our Mackenzie, welcome to Mackenzie Lake. We have that, but we have no camping signs in the parking facility. So I don't know if that would help any of the boat launches.
Some of the problem is that our boat launches, for the most part, are on Crown land. You can camp on Crown land for 21 days.
They just
So-
move over a little bit.
They do. They just move over to the edge of the bush and they're still there. But I know in the case of the Hay Lake one, it was like a Winnebago type camper and it's parked right in the center of the boat launch for the whole summer a couple of years ago.
Good. Yeah.
I repeat, you can't fix stupid.
No, but there's, as a township, then, do we have the authority to say no camping here? But what you're saying is that most of those are crown land.
Within the land use permit, yes, we can enforce the no camping and the only answer is to call Mike Anderson, have him come out there on a weekend.
I ruined a long weekend.
Well, I'm sure.
Or is it, again, is it signage that's needed? They always park up here at the beach, you'll see them. The privies are right there, so at least they have an outhouse to use, but you'll often see somebody there.
For the weekend.
Yeah, or, just overnight or something. And the same goes for old 127 there where that turnaround is. There's often various people using that one.
But we have neighborhood watch out those ways.
Yeah.
We actually don't even have a bylaw restricting camping in any of our municipal parking areas or parks or anything else.
Maybe we should work on that, Brian.
If you feel that legislative piece is needed, I can bring one forward.
We can't enforce it if we don't have a bylaw saying you can't do it, can we?
We can put up all kinds of signs, but it's just a deterrent and people don't look at signs anyway. We all know that.
So for instance, with Mike going out to Mackenzie Lake last fall to evict these people off the boat launch camping area. So he had no teeth.
No, it was more of a,
A bark.
you need to do it, but if they'd have fought it, we have no jurisdiction, right?
What's the feeling of
It's,
council? Should we be working on a bylaw restricting it or?
Well, it is a boat launch and that parking facility is there for people that are launching for boats, not for camping. So.
Is the bylaw just no camping at the boat launch, or are we
No
going into
camp-
more
camping on
bylaw?
that area, yeah. Like we do have signs on our big Mackenzie Lake, Hay Lake signs and so on and so forth, but nowhere near the parking facility and including your lake as well too, right in the lake.
And I think Macaulay Lake experienced some winter camping down at their boat launch.
Yeah.
So it's not just summer, it's gonna be year round where people just will go on Crown land, and I guess they assumed that was Crown land.
Where they can. We had that issue at Madawaska as well, didn't we, by the boat launch?
We did, yeah.
and that's one of our biggest challenges, right? Because we have so much of our geography is Crown land. The restrictions on our parcel and the very next parcel to its Crown, so people can camp there, and then people just automatically assume that they can just set up a tent or a trailer or whatever wherever they'd like, and nobody has an actual, surveyor out there telling them they're on Crown land or on municipal property. So it does make it challenging because we can only regulate those things for which we have jurisdiction over, which is within the municipal jurisdiction of the township and not Crown lands.
And, you know, how does John Doe or Jane Doe know whether it's municipal or crown land? How do we really know when we walk out there per se? And then we're into another whole can of worms, in my opinion. You know, we get a call, you know, Council Pijot, Council Cal, Rodney, Council Floyd, or anyone goes out there and finds out, well, gee, maybe this step is on crown, but maybe maybe if I move over, I'm on township. Like it's not a good way to do business.
Well, maybe instead of going to the bylaw route, because Maryla Valley is exactly true, unless we outline the perimeter of the land use permit, it's like carrying a stick and not being able to use it. But maybe if we just concentrate on making sure that there are signs at each of the parking facilities at the boat launch saying that it's a no camping zone, and see if that helps. It would be the cheapest route to go, I think.
But Tracy, you were mentioning that signs have been stolen in the past.
I'm just taking them.
Well, at least if we've done that, though, we've tried
Yes.
something. You know what I
Make sure that we
mean?
order more signs, that's all.
Yeah, last year we ordered 9.
Yeah.
See, we have to
We-
put them at the end of the turnarounds too, because they currently camp there too.
Yeah,
No, absolutely.
that's a problem with parking in the wintertime too at the turnarounds. Okay, we'll concentrate our efforts on increased signage. And
The next problem that gets created with too many signs.
well, like some of the facilities probably already have signs, and if they have signs and they are visible, we don't have to do anything with them. But if we do kind of an informal survey of all the launches and decide which ones need signage and which ones don't. I'm sure it's not them all, but I'm sure there's some.
Yeah.
Okay, if we can move on then to the playground inspection. I'm not sure who's looking after that. I know Adam has taken the course. Is that yours?
Steve Debar has been looking after the inspections there. He had mentioned it to me a few times, and he does those on a regular basis, he had mentioned.
Yes, I know.
Sorry, we've jumped ahead on.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's Jones, recreation plan.
Right,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
so, since, joining the, rec committee, we sat down and felt that we needed to maybe develop a plan and have more of a vision as to what we could do, not only as a group of people, but how can we further facilitate the community in beautification and maybe looking at some in memoriam benches, trees, etc. So between our meetings with the beautification group, as well as the recreation committee, we came up with this plan, and it is basically just looking at it over a 5-year period. And what could we do? It lists our assets. It lists what is within each asset. And if we felt that there was some improvements or repairs, etc., that was needed. So at the very end of this, you'll see recommendations listed. There was 53. And we decided that there were some that we could act on immediately. And then the others were distributed as we felt we could reach as a committee. So if we had agreed to this and approved it at the committee level, it is now just here for all of you to look at. And I believe that maybe I'm wrong, but Brian could correct me that it just needs a an okay from the council, so it could be put into effect. It already is, but basically, I believe that's what it is. I also shared it with, Madawaska, Recreation Committee. I haven't heard back from Terry, so I would assume that, they didn't want to join in it. Although it would have been done as a South Algonquin and then have the two different committees and their goals. Anybody have any questions, concerns?
So will a resolution be presented at the council meeting accepting this plan? Brian, maybe you can speak to that. Does the resolution need to come back to the next council meeting?
Yeah, certainly, if council wants to formalize the agreement between the rec and the township, the best way to do that is to bring back a resolution to the next meeting, basically having council adopt this on behalf of the rec committee, and that'll give them some something to work towards from a recreational perspective.
I think that motion would have to be very carefully worded. That council isn't endorsing that all of these are good ideas and responsibilities of council to see that they're done. Because some of them are already done, some of them are practical, some of them I think are impractical. Pianos in the park.
Yeah, I don't get that one.
I think some of them are impossible, some of them are be terribly expensive. Like, one of the greatest things that's been done in this community to enhance the look of it is those red chairs. Like,
They
I've
really
not
do
heard-
stand out, yeah.
Not heard one bad comment about those chairs, and I don't think we've had one of them disappear in the township. They get moved around a bit, but they're always still there. And they're really nice, like everybody enjoys them. It's done a lot to upgrade the looks of our parks and that. I'm not sure if it's in here, I thought it was, but I can't see it right now. Is recommending upgrades to the gazebo at the Memorial Park down here. That one sorely needs to be done and should be adopted by council, that somehow that fit in our budget at some point. I'm not, certainly can't be this year, but it certainly needs to be done. It's a great looking gazebo and it's gone into disrepair, and right now it's a bit of an eyesore.
We, when we adopted this, looked at it, there is no budgetary needs from the council or from the township. This was done mainly on how are we going to fundraise and what are we going to fundraise
How are we gonna have a
for?
plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we did not look at facilities, and the gazebo would be a facility, and that's, we don't have any, we don't own it. So the township does, and it's up to the township to look after buildings and
That facility was
That would
built
be
25 years ago, and you know, it needs to be,
You don't want a gazebo?
it's 25 years ago now.
That long ago, eh?
Yeah, it was in the first year that we amalgamated as a township.
Flagpoles. Very important.
flagpoles.
Flagpoles.
And changing the flags on them regularly.
Yeah, and again, I think, that is, and that was the other thing. It was like, it blurs, it started to blur. What is Whitney Recreation Committee able to do or should be doing, and what should the township be doing? And again, I think the flagpoles and the flags aren't really a committee, recreation committee, I mean, thing, so that's why it was. brought
No, but
forward.
you're right, but that's the great thing about having the recreation committees, because they,
They can raise money and do that,
well, it's not only that, they can keep bringing things like that to
Yes.
the attention of council.
absolutely.
Because council seems, some of the things get blurred sometimes because we have so much on our plate, so we forget about the small things. The recreation committee keeps bringing those small things to our attention, which gets them looked after.
But the roof over the surface, I thought that was not going ahead.
It's not,
Oh, okay, well, it's just on the list.
It was just on the list.
it was on the list,
So,
but
you know-
not something that we've decided to go.
I think what is a really great idea is the lighting of the dam.
That was looked at by council, and we actually have a staff report with the cost, and the cost was astronomical.
Really?
Yeah.
The what was that?
The cost of putting LED lighting at the dam
Oh,
to shine on the water as it's coming over. I think it was, I'm not mistaken, it was around $25,000.
I was gonna say it was over 20, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Wow.
And and there was
that's
some
what our
complaints
reaction
as
when we
well
got the
about
price, exactly.
there was some.
about night sky, ruining night sky, etc., etc. There were complaints as well when we did kick it around.
Okay.
Did you want to say something, Mary Lavelle?
I just wanted to say that I want to thank Councillor Fiat and on the committee, but this is a really well thought out document, a lot of work. You know, and it's a lot of pages to digest, but there's a lot of work that's done here. And I know that we all appreciate it, we all know that it can't be done overnight, but it's for me, a blueprint of what we should be doing or looking at as a township. Just to go back, if I may, on the gazebo, I just don't know whether we understand, maybe Joe and I are kind of dating ourselves here, but Frankie Kwiat was a member of this council. And he built that gazebo on his own, with his own money, because we all felt there should be a gazebo there. And when that gazebo was being built, no one showed up to help. So we're going back about 25 years, 25 years. And I maintain that that is a township facility. It was built by him for the township when we started with the gun there. So I think that we need to take a look at that. And I think that I agree with Councillor Ford. We can't say we're going to do all these things, but I think we should accept it for information to the council. Thank you. That's my views on this. A lot of work.
Mhm.
There was a lot of work trying to read all of these documents.
Yeah, it's certainly a good template.
Various.
And I think the Madawaska Recreation Committee agreed that they would work with the group in Whitney when there was anything in here that was joint and beneficial to both. You know, there's two communities, there's two recreation communities, they each have they're looking after their own community. But sometimes there's ideas that benefit both. Anything else on that?
Yep. So it'll come back for recommendation in information only.
Well, a motion to endorse it as a
Blueprint.
blueprint,
Consideration?
yeah.
Consideration,
Yeah.
Joe?
I think
I'll
so.
move that.
Consideration.
I'll move that. Councillor.
I don't think we need a motion at
Okay.
committee level, we just give staff direction to prepare something.
We do that well, right?
Yeah, it's fun. Okay, now we'll move back to the playground inspection, and I'll give it to you, Steve.
Yeah, so I know there is a requirement to have routine inspections done on them. Adam Zeberth, I think, took the lead on that. So I'll have to see what he's doing in terms of inspection reports, and I can follow up with him and get that information.
I know Adam did bring it to my attention, the tire swing at the community center, there's a little swings. And I think there's something else there besides swings, but beside the ball field in Madawaska. He asked me about present use, whether it's being used, because the tire swing, it's not the old tire swing, it's $525 to replace that tire. So I did a survey with the other recreation committee members, and the playground apparently is being used. So we are going to replace it. He wasn't going to replace it if it wasn't being used. So apparently it is going to be replaced, and there is enough money in this year's budget for that. But if you can imagine $525 for a tire.
There is no small children's swing there either, the little ones.
You sure? I thought there was one that you sat in.
No, there isn't. They're over at JR Booth Park, sure, but not at that swing.
Okay, I'll mention it to Adam and see if we can, because that's just the seat on the end of the,
Yes.
yeah.
So there's itemized hazards here, A, B, and C, right? So A would be the priority, correct?
No, C, I believe.
C.
And C to be addressed as soon as possible.
Items not to, items addressed immediately. Or no.
Did I read that wrong?
Or place that to be closed until those items can be addressed. We have to be addressed as soon as possible to avoid injury.
Oh, okay,
And
you're
then
right.
C items addressed as soon as possible to avoid confusion.
All right, so A and B are the ones that really need to be addressed.
Absolutely.
I did read that.
The trouble with some of the playground equipment is that they were installed 25 years ago and the standards have changed. I think they change about every 5 years, so they're 5 times out of date. The one at the Murray Park at Park Lake is a wooden structure. I don't think wooden structures are legal anymore. So, you know, it's up to the inspector's whim whether that passes the grade or not.
This is gonna say that there's.
Yeah.
I guess,
And,
yeah.
and then the next question, like Adam went through the process on the one at the community center, is it being used? Is there any sense replacing it? Maybe we're better just removing it, you know?
Mhm.
Like there's 3 different playgrounds
Mhm.
in the Madawaska area. At some point, you know, it becomes too much of a burden for the township to maintain 3 of them.
So I guess that is the question, how much does it get you?
That's right,
How much
exactly the
playground
question.
should we use with our investment to, it'd be a shame to eliminate playgrounds altogether, because what's the township with no playgrounds, right?
Yeah.
But. Yeah, at what cost? I think some of the dangerous things should be addressed right away, because I noticed in some of the pictures. Let me get there.
I see some rust on some of them.
Yeah, there was some cracked metal on one of the pictures here.
I spoke to Adam about that one,
Mhm.
and what happened was, looks like at the top of it, you have the tubing, the bracing for the whatever piece of equipment it was, it didn't have a cap on it. In the winter time, it filled up with water, always expanded and cracked it sort of thing. So what Adam had talked to was getting a welder in, just a simple cap on the top. Would mitigate that from happening anymore.
And how to fix the crack
Run a bead to weld.
over it.
Crack.
Align it,
Yeah.
nice and smooth.
Exactly the same thing has happened with my own flagpole at home.
Mhm.
Somehow leaked at the top, water got in, expand, it's only aluminum poles,
And split it.
split it.
Yeah.
Now it's just a place for the water to drain out.
Brian, as a, does Adam have a plan on how he's going to fix any of these, or?
I think that was his next step. I wanted him to get the reports done. They're supposed to be done every year. There's supposed to be an inspection done on them, and the last inspection that was done was actually done in 2014. So we're quite dated on meeting that. But also we didn't have anyone that was qualified. So Adam did take the course so that he'd have a better understanding of what we're looking for. But I did ask him to put together the items that are the biggest item seems to be the protective surfacing. The surface seems to be compacted or not meeting the requirements, so I think some of that's something that's fairly simple for him to address. That said, by 2025, we're going to have compliance issues with AODA, because all of these, all municipal park equipment has to be compliant with AODA by 2025. So we may have to take a real close look at the costs of meeting the requirements of AODA and bring a list of not only fixing what we have, but how do we make that compliant and then bring that back to council as part of our budget considerations.
So if I read this correctly, he should be closing until further notice.
Only those ones that he has to address compaction on. I'm not sure if he was able to get somebody in there and already address that or not. Stephen, would you happen to know if he had somebody in there to rototill or anything?
Never mentioned that to me. The only thing he brought up to me was the welding of the caps. And he said he already contacted someone for that. But in terms of compaction, he didn't.
So what we're saying is that the earth is too hard? Is that what we're getting at? Come down the slide, this.
And
Yeah, there's supposed to be a certain amount of.
So that's not a difficult thing to address.
No, he didn't take a tiller on
Most until they just fill up the ground,
Yeah, that'd be a simple solution.
which a tiller, which we don't have.
All right, so.
I got one at home.
Yeah.
Bring that in.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't think that the major, closure issues were that big a deal, that there was something that could be remedied relatively quickly. There's just a lot of little other things with some of the facilities that will need a little more detail. And I think a costing done out on what it's going to cost to repair or replace any of the components that, but it doesn't appear that, the B hazards are hazards that are shut it down immediately. It's just the A hazards that fall in the shut it down. So it really is protective surface and compaction that needs to be primarily addressed immediately. And then the other items are minor in nature as it relates to the current inspections. And then, as I said, the big issue is going to be the AODA compliance component.
2 years. That's right.
Okay, does anybody else have anything they want to add or ask about playground inspections?
I think we need to be very aware that our community will not want to see anything shut down. So I think within reason, we should be maintaining, replacing and making it as safe as we possible, because shutting it down or removing it, once we have a facility, nobody likes to see that facility removed. So even if it does cost a little bit of money, I think those facilities should remain, most definitely.
I think that's the general feeling of everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 'cause once it's gone, right?
Yeah.
Anything else on playground inspections?
One more thing, to just get to, anything that is dangerous or deemed dangerous to be dealt with immediately, right? Where somebody is going to get hurt. And if it's blatant, is what I mean, if it's blatant, right? I'm not talking about a little piece of wood missing or what have you. I'm talking about somebody getting cut, somebody getting hurt, somebody falling, right?
I think Adam is very good on that because he called me about that tire swing that I was talking about. And I went and looked, I said, we happen to have a recreation meeting that evening. So I said, can you wait till tomorrow? I'll get back to you. So I asked at the recreation committee meeting if it was in fact being used at all. Found out that it was. I went over and looked at the tire swing. It's a very small crack. You could probably put 300 pounds on that and not cause any damage. But Adam, because he's had the course and he's conscientious, he said he couldn't approve it because it was trained, even though in his mind he knew there was probably no probability. But he wasn't, I couldn't convince him that it was okay to let it slide. So I think he's doing his job and I think he'll do it correctly. Because the alternative was to take the tire down or replace it. That was the only two choices. And that's good.
Okay, good.
That's what we wanted to do.
Good, awesome. Yes, thank you.
so we'll assume that he'll act on this.
I would think so. He acted on that one anyway, for sure.
I will ensure that I follow up just to get a status update on things with Adam and get a costing breakdown of where we're at as it relates to meeting the requirements at all of the parks.
Sure, thank you. Okay, if we can move on to the level of service for the road maintenance policy. I don't know if, Stephen, if you want to address any of that or if it's.
Too early in his career.
Yeah.
So,
probably.
Too early in his career.
I can speak a little bit to it. So the minimum, Ontario has a minimum maintenance standard that we're required to meet provincially. Ontario Regulation 23902, which was amended the last time, I believe there were amendments in 17 and I believe again in 19. Anyway, our previous minimum maintenance standards bylaw, which protects us from litigation because it's all based on the type of road, surface, the amount of traffic that's been on the road. And as long as you're within meeting the requirements of maintaining the road to the minimum, which is what's in here, then we limit our liability from a litigative perspective. But the bylaw hadn't been updated since 2017. So because there had been amendments to 23902, there's a need for us to bring it up to date and bring it into the current requirements. One of the items that wasn't in two items that I know of right off the top of my head that weren't in the previous bylaw. One of them is there's a requirement for signage to meet a retroreflectivity number that it has to be tested on an annual basis, and where our signs fail, we're to be replacing the signs. So last year we did do a sign, we did have retroreflectivity done on our signs. We got that study back. I'm not sure what managed to get done or didn't get done with it as a result of changes to staffing right about the time that was delivered back to council. But there wasn't a standard in here. We hadn't put that in here. Also, when we have those large snow events, we can declare it a significant weather event, which eliminates the liability of the municipality if for some reason we don't meet the minimum standard. It wasn't recognized, but it is now in the bylaw. This was actually on my list way back when I first came in, but it fell off my desk for a long time. With the new council coming in, I thought it was a good time to bring this back, just so that everybody understands the requirements of the roads department from a legal perspective. And this policy really is adhering to the guideline. That doesn't prevent us from providing a higher level of service, but it does give us a minimum at which we will provide to the community.
I noticed last winter, Brian, that we did announce significant snowfall events more than once to make sure that we weren't found liable for not maintaining the standard. But my experience the last 25 years in this council, that we've always exceeded the minimum standards. And most of the councillors it'll only come to their attention when people complain about their road not being plowed. That's
And I think, Joe, the biggest challenge is, as you say, people get accustomed to a level of service, and that level of service, as you say, is probably beyond the requirements of the legislative responsibility. So when we have two plow trucks go down and they're taken down to Winslow Girolami for repairs in the middle of a snow season, if you get an event, if you've got one truck and maybe a grader out there trying to do the work, or a 1-ton truck plowing roads, your standards aren't the same level, and that's where you start to get the complaints, is where we're not meeting the standard that we maintain. Although we do generally, as a rule, meet the minimum standard. I don't recall an occasion that I've been with the municipality where we failed to meet the minimum standard on our roads.
Yes, and there's sometimes people fail to take in a little bit of consideration. Like if there's a huge snowfall event, like there happened to be in the last couple of years, where there's in the middle of a significant snowstorm, but like every prediction is that it's going to end in 3 hours. Well, why would you want the plow to come out now and then come out again in 3 hours? It's very rare that occasion is necessary. And most of the time we wait out the snowfall, even though it says 3 inches or 4 inches, whatever it is. If the total prediction is 6 inches, we usually wait until it's done. Then we only got to do it once. But I understand, like, emergency routes is a little different. We got to keep them maintained, and normally we do. Except, like you said, last winter we got caught with a couple of trucks broke down, and I think it's great that we post it just to remove the liability for ourselves. But generally, like I said before, we exceed the standards.
Not according to some people.
Oh, I know, but you can never keep everybody happy.
Well, and I think if the general public looks at this bylaw and understands what the minimum is, they'll realize to what level we are exceeding that service level requirement. And as part of that whole asset management thing, this is a component of it, right? It really is the level of service that we're expected to provide to the residents. And I know when we did our, we started that planning process about 15 or 16 months ago. And when we did public consultation on it, we didn't have as wide and as far of people getting back to us as I would have hoped, but we did have a good response as it relates to the numbers as a percentage. When you normally put these out, we were in that range. And I think it's important for people to realize these are the standards. These are what we're required to maintain, and adjusting those back a little bit in order to reduce our overall operational costs at some point may become something that has to be considered. But I do know that the public was very much in line with, they're willing to pay for the service of making sure the roads are looked after.
The other thing that councillors get complaints about is dust control. And I think this year we're on top of it. We're getting it done before the long weekend. I've had a few calls last week, but as soon as I told them that it was presently being done, everybody was quiet about it. Other than snowfall, I think that's the second biggest issue that people have.
Well, referrals.
Well, in the springtime, yeah, for sure. Okay, if anybody, I would recommend everybody read that minimum standards bylaw, just so they have an idea of what the standard is, so that you could not so much complain to the roads department, but answer questions from the public. Because,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I have one question though, and it is related to roads, but throughout the winter, we keep every road in this township open. Is there a reason we do that? I mean, there are some that there's nobody on it, so
We
there's nobody
don't,
living.
There's some roads that we don't.
The beach
Yeah,
road is,
Burnt Depot, we don't do.
the beach road's
Beach
never
roads not
open.
followed. There are some that we don't do in the winter that we look after in the summer.
Yeah, Burnt Depot, we don't do.
No,
Because the truck
You
can't.
never get it.
We'll never get out of there.
So there are some that we just don't do because
Well,
of
and there
logistics.
are people living down
Oh, there is. So
Yeah.
then what happens?
they come out in snow machine.
there, come on snow machine.
Isn't that cool? That's neat.
The same with the
Get my dogs
the
out.
water access only properties. They still have to get out in the wintertime or summer.
So there is some, okay, thank you, because I was like, oh my gosh, if we do every road.
Yeah.
For no reason, that's a big cost.
Some of them even know that there's nobody living on them, they're access to something else. So,
No turnaround sometimes,
yeah,
I think Cross Lake, once upon a time, the snowplow used to go to the boat launch, but stopped doing that for reason, but.
I think it was since amalgamation, I think it's only been done to the parking lot at the top. And that was at the request of the residents in there. They wanted, if somebody was going to park and break into their cottage, they wanted them to park where the public could see them. Not down over the hill where nobody would know that they were there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. If there's nothing else on the level of service, we'll move on. Staff has prepared an all-terrain vehicle bylaw. A number of years ago, the province made it okay for recreation vehicles to travel on provincial roads. Our township hasn't followed suit, and this is just to clear that up. Am I right in that, Brian?
Yeah, so back in July of 2020, the province brought in a regulation that permitted off-road vehicles, ATVs, extreme all-terrain vehicles to travel on municipal highways. But the catch to that regulation, which was Ontario Reg 31603, was that those vehicles we actually need to pass a bylaw. So we've been for years allowing them. I think there was probably a general belief that, yeah, they allowed them, so now we just let them happen. Where in fact, by not having the bylaw, the OPP have the authority to stop people and charge them because they're not actually permitted unless we've permitted them by bylaw. And if there were roads specifically we wanted to prohibit, we could have done that as well. But noticing that, I just thought while we were having this meeting, we'd make sure we cleared it up. There are no roads being recommended for prohibition under our bylaw. We don't control the King's Highway, of course, so Highway 60 is a provincial jurisdiction, but all other municipal roads, they've been permitted to traverse on.
Okay, so this is more of a housekeeping. It's nothing new. It's just saying what we've been doing is okay.
Exactly.
Anybody have any questions of Brian on that? I don't see any. Okay, we'll move on. The next item is that the office is going to be closed on July the 7th because they're having their generator hooked up that day. Anybody have any questions of staff on that? What day of the week is that? Friday?
Oh, convenient.
Our quietest day of the week.
Okay.
I'll put it on Facebook and circulate it. I wanted to let council know first. Before it's
Okay.
not on Facebook.
Enjoy your day off.
I'm not ready.
The next item is that the engineers are going to do an inspection on the bridge on Major Lake Road on July the 12th. So the road is going to be closed from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. that day. I have forwarded that to the Macaulay Lake cottagers for dispersal. So I'm pretty sure that everybody at Macaulay Lake by now knows that that's in the schedule. I've told the people at Algonquin Bound, who delivers canoes quite regularly into the park via that access, that that closure is upcoming. So they are aware. Other than maybe having the township post a temporary sign at the access to Major Lake Road, I don't know how much more we can do.
Put it on Facebook.
Put it on Facebook, but that probably won't catch the cottagers that are. Because Algonquin Park is not going to tell them that they can't get in there that day.
I was just gonna say, what about letting Algonquin Park know?
We can, they do know?
Well, Ontario Parks is the one that's closing it, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But do they still have that sign that,
It's at Opeongo right now.
but.
Oh, the great big sign. Yeah, it says Costello Lake or something. At Costello, it said.
Yeah.
That was last week,
I was up there on the weekend there, they had a close, I think, a couple of days this week, because they're doing forward replacement.
Okay, that's what the sign is.
And they're doing it at night.
Yeah.
But that, so there's no, that sign is now in open. Okay.
Well, it may be finished there by July the 12th.
It would be nice to have people aware before they head down that road that it is closed, right?
Well, it's only 5 hours. I don't think it's a good idea to close that bridge. I think it would be great to have log trucks coming over that bridge while the engineer is underneath of it having a look. But I guess they don't agree with
They
it.
don't agree with you.
Okay, we can move on to the next item. We have a letter in our correspondence about a Good Samaritan Act on Highway 523. Does anybody have any opinion?
Can I speak to it?
Sure.
Okay. This came about, I was at the ribbon cutting with Saba and the trail. And I got a call that, Tom Taylor was on his way to the ribbon cutting. And on his way on 523, he came on a truck. I don't know whether it was in the ditch or rolled over. But there were people, occupants inside, and they couldn't get out. So he went ahead and pulled something off and worked and got them out. And the police 911 was called and the police came. And I was on my way to Barry Bay and the cruisers went flying by me. And it turned out they were going there. So I received a call saying that he was a hero. He was there at the right time. He saved their lives. And they wanted me to to make note of that. I in turn called Mr. Taylor and thanked him and talked to him. So the reason it's here is I don't know whether as a township, we have just a form letter or something we can send out saying, thank you for doing this. You know, he can do it on behalf of the township. He did it as a good Samaritan, in my opinion, but he was there, he was, you know, thank God it had a good ending. And I think all asking is that a letter come from this township. Saying thank you very much. It's nothing.
I think just a letter, not like a life-saving medal or anything, because it wasn't on fire. The people weren't badly hurt.
No, there's no danger of,
What happened? How did the truck land on its side?
I don't know, I just know. that
Probably took the
they-
benefit pass.
He came upon it right out as it.
Yeah.
It happens a lot on that road.
yeah, it does for sure. I think it's commendable, but I don't think he was a hero. There was, I think saying that he saved their lives is a little bit of an overreach.
He didn't say that,
No,
the person that sent it.
I know, I read that
Oh,
letter
you
too.
read it, okay.
I
So-
think any one of us would have stopped had we been in that location
For
at that
sure.
time too. So
He was at the
thank
right
you.
place.
thank you, I think is,
Yeah.
I'd rather a letter of recognition.
Yeah,
That's all, yeah.
because there are people that would have drove by, you know,
For sure.
they're out there.
Absolutely drove around,
Yeah,
seen that too.
Mr.
Steve,
Taylor, Mr. Taylor happened to have been a candidate in the last election too.
That didn't enter this one,
No, I didn't see that in the recommendation.
no.
I have just a question, and is that, do we as a township have a community appreciation program or something, like recognizing this or recognizing somebody's birthday, or like, do we do any of that?
We used to do milestone birthdays, recognitions, or milestone anniversary things. I don't think we have lately.
It's just thinking of PR, it would be nice if we did something of that sort, but then you're sort of opening yourself up for some criticism if you forget anybody.
We generally have done them historically based on requests being sent to us, so somebody will say they've got a 100th birthday or 50th anniversary or something, and generally we do up a little certificate from the township signed by the mayor for them. That's kind of, and we give them a framed certificate. That's been what's been occurring to my knowledge historically, Tracy.
Yeah.
Something that we've been ignoring is seniors awards. And they have a senior of the year every year. And we haven't really done anything.
We passed it by at the last meeting, we didn't do anything, we were
Yeah.
against that.
We maybe should concentrate our efforts a little bit more into making sure that we recognize a senior that stands out, you know, most of the volunteers in our township are seniors, believe it or not, they are. It's not only our township, all over, it's like that.
Some are more active than others, but yeah.
Yeah,
So getting back to milestones. I don't know if we're getting off the track here with asset management, but anyhow, with milestones, maybe we should pick that in our next bulletin. To remind people that if you have a milestone, birthday or anniversary, what have you.
I think that's a good
to-
idea.
To
Yeah.
contact the township so that we can, right?
Back in, man,
Yes, go ahead.
back in the day with Joe and I, I think maybe before that, before we amalgamated, when I was the reeve then, we would get a request, we would do a letter, they're all the same thing, you know, recognize, thank you, and I would deliver those, but it was based on, some people are very humble. And some would just like the letter, others would request that someone, the mayor come or the reeve come at that time. So it was a smaller township, but that's what was done also. I don't know what was done in the past council, Joe.
Generally, and as the mayor of South Algonquin, I remember you giving a presentation to Mervyn Dupuy
That's right.
Mervyn was on his deathbed, and I'm telling you, Mervyn, he was a volunteer like no other in our township that I know of. If you had tickets to sell, give them to Mervyn. He'd sell as many tickets as 15 other people together. Because he just wouldn't take no for an answer. If you say, well, I don't have any money, he'd come back and see you the next day, and the next day, the next day.
You got any money yet?
Yeah, he was an unbelievable, volunteer.
Ambassador for the township.
yeah, he was for sure. So it's important that those kind of people be recognized.
Some incentive there.
Yes, for sure. The last item on the agenda is railroad bed petition, and that's mine. I was presented with this petition last week, and I was supposed to bring it to the last meeting, and I forgot it at home sitting on the table. Now, I know that the township we don't own the rail line, and this petition is addressed to others, so I hope it's delivered to others. I'm just going to read it. It's signed by about 90 people. I didn't count them, but they told me there was 80 or 90 people here. It's this one's addressed to councillors and committee members. We, the residents of Madawaska, would like to file a complaint with the South Algonquin Business Alliance, Upiongo Snowbirds, Snowmobile Club, the Township of South Algonquin, and the Renfrew County ATV Club about the resurfacing of the snowmobile trail that runs along Major Lake Road and Highway 60. The dust from the trail was bad before, but since this new product has been put down, the dust is 10 times worse. One, we cannot open our windows without having dust blow into our homes. Two, we can't enjoy outdoor activities such as sitting on our decks, barbecuing, enjoying our yards. Three, our homes, vehicles, windows, patio furniture, all covered with dust. Four, you can't enjoy a walk down Major Lake Road without getting covered in dust. Number five, the children can't enjoy the playgrounds or the ball diamond at the community center or being able to enjoy the park and swimming hole without getting dusted out. Six, there is a health risk of breathing in all this dust. We, the residents, would like the aforementioned groups to come up with a solution to help rectify the said problem we are having. Whether a new material could be used or that calcium could be put on the said surface to control dust. Hopefully we can work together to come to a solution to resolve this problem. As I already mentioned, we don't own this trail, but I think we have a responsibility to the residents of our township who live beside this trail. Whether it's to petition in this case, it's the ATV club, because obviously the snowmobiler don't raise any dust. The South Algonquin Business Alliance are included because they contributed grant money to worsening the problem, in the opinion of these people that signed the petition. The problem exists along Highway 60 for those residents that live to the northeast of the trail along Highway 60 east of the bridge. There's about 7 or 8 driveways there, 7 or 8 residents. They all eat dust all summer long. And all the people along Major Lake Road, it's the same problem. And before I took his word for it, because I was told that granite that they put down there was going to solve the problem. So I took my ATV, went down there, I drove the speed limit, there was a plume of dust behind me. I cut the speed limit by half, there was no dust. So to me, the easy solution is petition the ATV club, snowmobile club, whatever, to reduce the speed limit on that section. We can't close it, it's access to our whole community. But we could petition them to reduce the speed limit. If the speed limit was 25 kilometers an hour instead of 50, it's unbelievable the difference that it makes. And right now, there's numerous stop signs along that route. Nobody listens to the stop signs. The stop signs have to be bigger. Personally, I've almost hit a half a dozen snow machines in the wintertime because people just blow through the stop signs. It's crazy. It's absolutely dangerous. The person that lives furthest to the east, the trail crosses his driveway on a corner. It's blind. Like sometimes he says he has to stop and roll down his window so he can hear if there's anybody coming or not because he's afraid to cross. Because they're zooming through there at 80 kilometers an hour, even though it's supposed to be 50. I think in front of his place, it is 50, I think.
All trails are posted 50 kilometers an hour.
I know, but they don't do 50. I drove it at 50 and the plume of dust was bad. At 25, it was pretty good. So what I'm asking council to do by presenting this is to petition the ATV club to do something about reducing the speed limit.
We've got calcium being placed on our roads at the moment. It wouldn't take very long just to do that stretch from the east
It's not our property.
through. Could we put calcium on it? We've obviously had permission to put gravel on it.
We didn't put the gravel on it.
No,
I was going to ask that, why? It is the trail system, I get that, and so the township has no jurisdiction doing anything on that, right? It's all,
But we could work in conjunction with several clubs, right? And Stephen would know if calcium, as Councilor Collins was mentioning. What is it, kilometer? How much?
It'd be less than a kilometer, probably the section that you was talking about.
No, I'm talking about right from, I'm not sure what the civic address, and I hesitate to name names, but from the closest driveway to the works garage. From there west to All-Star Lane,
Okay, gotcha.
it's probably 2 kilometers.
Wouldn't use a whole lot of calcium, but I don't know if it'll sink in, because it's not like a gravel road either, like you have a gravel. This is a lot of loose material,
Actually, that section has a granite finish on it now, it's
Okay.
chipped
so
stone.
whether it would work with that granite really well, I don't know, I'd have to look at it.
Would be, yeah, it'd be worth
It probably
it would be worth a try, but then the township would have to work in conjunction with Snowmobile Club, because they own the signs. And the ATV Club as well too,
And it was
because
like-
Yeah. And I only caution, that, once, if we were to undertake this activity, that there may be other trail areas within the community, that there will become an expectation of the same thing in the future. And this section would then anticipate and become part of our annual operating budget, because they would expect us to continue doing it as well on an annual basis. So I just caution that.
Whether you get the truck down the railway bed as well, that's another question.
I was gonna say.
yeah, that's, yeah.
I think we do have an obligation, as Joe said, because it's our ball diamond, it's our community centre and library, that this is a major chunk of the area that we're talking about here. So it's not just the residents as well, it's actually township property that's being affected. I mean, if you were housing a wedding and people were outside, or there's children on the ball diamond, the dust is quite phenomenal.
and even if you ask them to reduce the speed, you're gonna have to have somebody to enforce it, right?
Only the police can enforce the
Right.
speed.
For years, I've thought that they should have a big sign at both the east and west end of that area. A huge big board sign advising people to slow down and respect the community and the residents along the right of way. As I've had one of the residents stand out on the trail with a shovel over his shoulder. And the people slow down, but he can't stay there forever.
You know what? I know exactly who that resident is. There, I can see it happen.
We've almost been wiped out by ATVs coming down our road and then across.
Because people would know the stop
And
sign.
we always stop because it's easier to stop and look than it is to expect them to stop, because they don't.
So our action is going to be,
Mayor LaValle has a point first.
No, oh, go ahead, no, he was had his hand up.
No, he's asking me, I think, or the committee.
what our point of action, and thanks for pointing that out, to me, Brian. Yeah, so if we did it once with calcium, we'd have to continue doing it, so.
Well-
People would be asking for the same thing.
I think we can work in conjunction with the users of the trail. And the township has a bigger voice than an individual resident. If we push it to the ATV club and push it to the snowmobile club to use larger stop signs and slower speed limits, I'd rather work together than butt heads and come up with a solution for these residents.
I agree. I just wanted to add, I lived in Lake St. Peter for a few years on the trail. And it's a lot of dust. And I'll tell you, no matter what you do, people don't slow down. I think the speed limit is a good option. I don't know for sure who did it, but I think it was one of the clubs that actually put calcium on that. And that's the old river bed too. And you know what I'm talking about,
Yep.
St. Peter. We face the lake. So, I agree, these residents have a really good point. When these things go flying by, I think it's a real safety issue. And I don't see why they're in the parameters of our township, of our community, that they can't be forced to slow down. And I think, whether maybe Saba can do something here, they got some grant money, maybe they're made aware of this, they can maybe do something too. I think we should send this to all the people that are concerned, that should be concerned about this.
Yeah, the idea of calcium might be valid as long as we don't have to pay for it. And, you know, and maybe that we could time it at the same time as our calcium. Is all of our calcium delivered by tractor trailer or some of it delivered by tandem?
So what they do is they bring a truck, like just a tandem truck with a tank on it. And behind they have a detachable tanker on behind.
Yeah.
So that way there, when he comes up from Oshawa, he'll detach the tanker. And then he'll go around just with the main truck. And then he'll have to pump out of the tanker into his main truck again. So it's a little bit shorter to be able to get turned around at the turnarounds, so one way.
Okay, so in that respect, I think that truck could, but would be physically able to do the calcium on the two sections in question, because at the area along Major Lake Road, you can access it through the community hall property and exit on the All-Star Lane property, which is easily accessed by a tandem. They gravel it by tandem, so you must be able to put, you know. Okay, so I'm just encouraging maybe staff to write some letters to the different people mentioned in this interest and see if we can come up with something together.
Actually sooner than later, because they are almost done, right, with the
Wednesday and Friday, Friday's the last load.
Friday's the last load.
Well, I'm not saying that we do the calcium now. We have our quantities ordered, you know, we're going to be using it
You
all.
were running short on your township road then.
Yeah,
If you use it somewhere.
but in the future, that might be a solution. You know, to have somebody else pay for it and add it into our calcium program and do it at the same time.
And give them a bill.
So the solution.
Yeah, somebody else pays.
So we don't really have a solution for them between now and next year.
I think we have to petition them to lower the speed limits. As the minimum.
Sure.
Like
You
I
are entering into a residential and community area where children are playing. Please reduce your speed. I mean, that's all we can do.
Big sign,
But I think that could be a township sign,
big sign.
either end of
Please
that
slow
area.
down, please respect our residents,
Mhm.
And maybe put a children's sign on there playing.
Children playing.
as long as it doesn't say slow children.
Yeah.
Can we place signs?
That's a question for you, Brian. Can we place signs on the trail?
Not my property. Certainly I can encourage the ATV club to post them. Certainly if council wanted, we could possibly even provision signs to them if we had them. That said, I don't know that we physically could go on. I don't even know who the Railbeds property is currently, whether that's still Crown land, whether CNCP still owns it or who owns it.
It's Crown.
It's Crown, and I know that officially because when I purchased my property, my lawyer looked into that portion there. So it is Crown. It's been reverted to Crown because the township at the time refused to take it from the railways.
Yeah, it used to be CN Railway.
I also know that when we, three councilors on the side of the table, went to the grand opening of that trail back in when was it?
Last year. I
March.
think.
March, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
They were looking at signage because they're really trying to promote the use of the trails as not just ATV or snowmobile, but yet, bicycles,
Recreation.
other recreational uses, including walking. And they were looking at signs back then, I think, but I don't know where Saba got, how far they got with that.
So we're gonna unload a little bit more work to staff to look into this.
I would like to see signs put at the east and west end of that section of trail, advising them that they're entering a residential area and to slow down, obey all stop signs, etc., whatever has to be on the signs. At least we've done something. We've made an effort.
I think that's the least we can do.
For sure.
Everybody in agreement?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's direction to staff. Does anybody else have anything? Mayor LaValle?
It's not on the, I thought, is that the one item, we have to add, Tracy? I had notes in just one item to add. Maybe,
I don't remember anything about it.
sorry, excuse me, this came up yesterday to me, so that's why it's not here. It's the situation going down the track where it's washed out. And there was another concern came to me with a suggestion yesterday that there'd be something signage there, because if you're driving down there or on your bike or whatever, it's like a big hole. And I know that it's not our property. I know it's Crown. But I do know when we had the washouts, we did what we could to put signage up. And some of you have been down there, I haven't, I can't get down there. But is there any way we can put signage there so that somebody's not going to go down in that hole? My understanding is that it's going to be fixed through some organization. So I don't know, it's probably maybe a question to staff. What can we put there? Anything cautionary, because somebody's going to go in there.
I can contact the M&R staff that's involved with that and ask him to put up a sign.
You know, they should be on both sides.
Yeah.
Caution,
Because
slow
when
down.
you're coming across that bridge, you can't really see all those rocks until you're right there,
Exactly.
right?
You know what I'm talking about, Stephen?
I know exactly, I traveled over it this past.
So
weekend.
can you make, you
I
can see
guess
there's nothing
one
there.
Contact the right people who own that trail about the signage, I guess you could put it there, yeah. Yeah, but it's not our land, so you'd have to contact whoever owns it, I guess,
And I have to contact them.
that signage up.
Well, I don't think it's a big expense. Would it be on both sides? You put these signs?
I
Yeah,
would say so, one on one side of the bridge and then
Yeah,
one
one
up
on the other.
towards Adventure.
It-
Lodge there, yeah.
I just thought, wasn't going to talk about it, Councillor Ford, but it came to me again yesterday.
No, I think you mentioned it the last meeting a little bit.
There is a washout on that bridge virtually every year.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they tried to put a spillway in this last time to allow the water to like spill over. But unfortunately, spilling over, it took too much of the dirt with it, hence the rocks.
It needs if you're going to use that trail, and people use that trail, our local residents use that trail. It's somewhere along the line needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a permanent fix for it.
Oh, okay, Tracy's going to contact the MNRF, and
This is sooner than later.
maybe
Right now.
if they don't respond in a couple days,
Yeah.
maybe Steve could put a couple bullards or something up there.
Yeah, I think that's something there.
It's not gonna cost us a fortune, put some cones or something, at least something that
We
people.
have a lot of signage down at the yard there. We
Yes.
Probably have something we could use that's right there, so.
Sure, just, yeah,
We're protecting our own personnel, our own township.
Yeah.
exactly,
Well, because it's not our trail.
but it
It's
could
not
be
our
our
problem, but
residents
it's
getting
gonna
hurt.
be our problem, because if somebody does get
Somebody's
hurt,
got to go
on it,
into
using our emergency services, right, so.
Well, somebody already did, right?
During the poker run.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't
Yeah.
hear that.
Okay, if nobody has anything else to bring up, I don't see anybody with their hand up or anything, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. By Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Rodnick. Meeting is adjourned.
Don't talk yet, we're still on.